It's not victim shaming to expect women to have the agency to leave toxic relationships. Quite the contrary, to not expect that is infantilizing them.
In a moment that shook both the entertainment and political spheres, Sean "Diddy" Combs found himself spiraling out of control after comedian and political commentator Bill Maher unleashed a segment that exposed some of the music mogul's darkest, most closely guarded secrets. The chaos unfolded on a Friday night episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, during what viewers initially expected to be just another satirical takedown of the week's top headlines. What they got instead was a blistering monologue that left the studio in stunned silence, and Diddy, watching from afar, reportedly throwing a glass across the room and screaming for his lawyers.
If you're Me Tooing someone, it doesn't help your case if you texted him, "Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable." If you want us to think you weren't always ready to freak off, don't write, "I'm always ready to freak off." If Diddy walks free, it will be because his lawyers can point to an endless stream of text from Cassie expressing what's often called enthusiastic consent to their sex life.
It began subtly. Maher eased into his routine with jokes about Hollywood hypocrisy and billionaire vanity projects. But midway through the show, he pivoted. "Let's talk about the music industry," he said, his tone suddenly sharp. Specifically, one man who's built a billion-dollar empire off the backs of others, while claiming to be the godfather of hip-hop culture. The camera closed in as Maher leaned forward. Sean Combs, or Puff Daddy, or P. Diddy, or Brother Love, whatever he's calling himself these days. The audience gave a nervous chuckle. Then Maher dropped the hammer. He began reading from what he claimed were court-sealed depositions and whistleblower testimonies from former Bad Boy Records executives and associates. These accounts painted a damning picture of manipulation, exploitation, and a systematic effort by Diddy to maintain power through fear and control. Maher accused Diddy of using private investigators to track dissenting artists, of threatening journalists, and of coercing silence with NDA payouts so massive they could fund a mid-sized country's education system. Maher didn't stop there. He cited a 2002 internal memo from Bad Boy Records, allegedly uncovered during an unrelated investigation, detailing how up-and-coming artists were contractually locked into exploitative deals, stripped of royalties, and kept in line through a mix of psychological pressure and surveillance. This wasn't just bad business, Maher said, it was cult-level manipulation. Diddy, who was watching the show from his Miami compound surrounded by close associates, exploded. According to two witnesses in the room, he stood up abruptly, knocked over a table filled with food and drinks, and shouted, "This is war. He doesn't know who he's messing with." One source claimed Diddy immediately ordered his security team to gather intel on Maher, allegedly demanding to know his travel plans, schedule, and even what kind of car he drove. Behind the scenes, Combs's legal team scrambled to prepare a defamation suit, but the damage was already snowballing. Social media erupted with clips of Maher's monologue, and hashtags like Diddy Exposed and Maher Leaks began trending within hours. Celebrities and former collaborators began weighing in. Some praised Maher for saying what others had been too afraid to utter, while others expressed shock and disbelief at the allegations. A particularly viral moment came when a former Bad Boy artist, who had not been publicly associated with Combs for over a decade, tweeted simply, "Told y'all, nobody wanted to listen." Within minutes, the tweet had racked up tens of thousands of likes and retweets, adding to the growing storm. Meanwhile, Maher doubled down. In a follow-up video posted to his social channels the next morning, he clarified that he had received multiple cease and desist threats, but stood by every word he said. "This isn't personal," Maher stated. "It's about power, silence, and accountability. Diddy isn't the only one in this industry with skeletons in his walk-in closet, but he's certainly one of the loudest dancing around it." In retaliation, Diddy launched a PR blitz. Statements were released calling Maher's segment a deliberate smear campaign, accusing the comedian of leveraging sensationalism for ratings. A spokesperson for Combs claimed that the accusations were old, recycled rumors, fueled by disgruntled ex-employees and washed-up artists seeking relevance. But insiders suggested Diddy was far from calm. He reportedly held 3 emergency meetings in less than 48 hours, demanding loyalty from his team and urging his closest confidants to start leaking dirt on Maher in return. However, things took an even darker turn when reports surfaced that a former bodyguard for Combs, previously under a non-disclosure agreement, was planning to come forward in light of Maher's revelations. The unnamed ex-employee was said to have knowledge of surveillance operations, cover-ups, and incidents involving potential witness intimidation. According to sources close to the situation, this individual had already begun speaking to federal investigators tied to an unrelated music industry probe. The implications were huge. If even half of what Maher revealed was true, Diddy's empire could be on the verge of collapse. The entertainment world, often slow to hold its own accountable, seemed unusually swift in response this time. Several upcoming projects involving Combs were quietly shelved. An upcoming reality TV revival that was to feature him as executive producer mysteriously disappeared from the network's website. One music festival in California removed his name from the headliner list within 72 hours of the broadcast. Diddy's name, once synonymous with flashy success and unmatched hustle, was now trending alongside words like predator and narcissist. In the days that followed, Maher remained relatively calm amid the growing chaos. On his podcast, he quipped, "I didn't expose Diddy because I hate him. I exposed him because too many people are still paying for the lifestyle he's living." It was a line that landed with weight, as fans and critics alike revisited old interviews and documentaries, re-examining the shiny image Diddy had spent decades polishing. Meanwhile, Diddy himself seemed to spiral deeper into paranoia. Sources say his inner circle began to fracture, with longtime allies distancing themselves or going radio silent. One anonymous music executive was quoted saying he thought he was untouchable. Now, even the people who owe him their careers are trying to disappear. As public opinion continued shifting, and with Maher now being hailed as either a truth-teller or an opportunistic grenade thrower depending on who you asked, one thing was certain: the cultural reckoning wasn't over. The glitzy mask of the industry had slipped for a moment, and what lay underneath had people questioning how many others, like Diddy, had climbed to the top on the backs of silence, fear, and manipulation. And while Combs raged in his fortress-like mansion, barking into phones and threatening lawsuits, Maher's words continued to echo. "You can't call yourself a king when your castle's built on buried voices."